We've definitely seen a movement or a push, not only in comic books, but just in entertainment in general, I think under the guise of attacking toxic masculinity, to really just go out there and attack anything that's considered masculine. A lot of the things that we're seeing kind of torn down these days, in particular, like a Superman or a Captain America. Not only are their values too old timey, right? They're too traditional in nature, but what the characters themselves represent, an idealized male role model, in a lot of cases, pretty much the perfect male role model. Not only is Captain America, a physically imposing, powerful character, but he's also got a moral core to himself. He will never bend or break his principles, not even for, the U.S. government. He's Captain America, but he believes in the American dream. He will not, essentially compromise principles and his morals to support the American government. I've always thought that was a very powerful message. You could represent something symbolically, yet at the same time, be opposed to the apparatus or the overall structure that represents that, in another light. I've always thought that was cool about the character. It's one of those things when you think about Captain America, it's actually a very good role model for young men and women, is like as far as peer pressure. You would think that a Captain America would always go along with American policy, but that's not the case, because sometimes that doesn't work with his own internal, morals and principles. Superman, exceptionally physically strong character, the idealized male, right? In theory, well, not in theory, I think we could all agree that if Superman wanted to take over the world, in the DC Comics universe, there's no stopping it. We've seen it, in a couple of Elseworld style stories, most notably Injustice. Yet, Clark Kent, Superman, has enough humility and respect for other people that he does not impose himself, on the world and make the world bend to his needs and his wants, which I think is a very good role model character for young men. We always hear about toxic masculinity, and hey, listen, I don't like when guys are a little bit too macho and then they end up doing a bunch of stupid stuff, or maybe they're disrespecting people and getting out of line because they think that's macho. But I definitely respect masculine men that are out there setting a good role model for the other men in society, that I can be strong, I can be self-assertive, I can be exceptionally confident in my own abilities and my place in society. But I'm also confident enough in myself that I don't have to scream it from the rooftops and throw it in everyone else's faces. So I think with this idea that we've got to wipe out toxic masculinity from the world, they've removed the toxic part, and they just said we need to remove masculinity from entertainment and in the world. And obviously, key characters that you would see that you would want to remove that from would be like role models like Superman and Captain America. And interesting enough, recently I did a Spider-Man No Way Home review with Jesse Blaze Snyder and Aaron Sparrow, and we kind of got sidetracked just for a couple of minutes into this conversation. I want to play it right here before I come back for my final thoughts on the subject. But I think Jesse Blaze Snyder really breaks it down well.
I saw an article. I think it was Clownfish was reading this article, and the person that wrote it was lamenting the fact that this it's this demographic of 18 to 40-year-old men. It's a shame that's the demographic that you have to appeal to make this kind of money. And it was like, well, maybe there's a lesson in that. And by the way, I don't think that's necessarily true, because there were a lot of women in the theater when we saw it. That were excited to see it. A lot of women love these superhero movies, and people like the same sort of heroic fiction.
Yeah, well, I think what people forget sometimes is that I saw somebody talking about like Superman the other day, and like the changeover for the new Superman. They want to make her a woman. She looks kind of like a girl version of Clark Kent. It's weird, and she was lamenting the Superman thing, and I sort of immediately understood that she was looking at him as like, this is the ideal man that I would like to have in my life. And, and whether you're gay or straight or whatever, ideals are ideals. There are people who are portrayed a certain way. It doesn't matter if they are representative of you. They're representative of the brother you'd like to have, or the sister you'd like to have, or the mother you'd like to have, or the father you'd like to have, the kid you'd like to have. Everybody is a part of this giant human family, and we don't need the protagonist to constantly be an avatar for me. I just need it to be an avatar for something I would like to have in my life, and a good, strong, virtuous male figure is something that we would all like to have in our lives, because like it or not, we're all surrounded by plenty of male figures, and we would love them to be more like Superman or more like Spider-Man under these circumstances. We don't necessarily have to change them in any way to have a satisfying relationship with them so that they're more like us. They don't have to be more like us. They can just be what we might like to see in our people. And I mean, I think that's why we've always gravitated towards a Superman or a Peter Parker. Clark Kent and Peter Parker probably being like the best examples of these nerdy, intelligent, virtuous male figures who are trying to do the right thing no matter what. And that's never going out of style, I don't believe, because that's the kind of father we want. That's the kind of brother and friends we want. And, we're always going to have some men that we're dealing with on the planet. We can't just erase them all from continuity.
And I think he's got completely right. Not only is there this aspect that we have to remove all masculinity, but there's this weird push that every character should be representative singularly to every single person in this world. Obviously, that's not possible. In a lot of these characters, obviously, that would have been created in the early days of comics, in the 30s, 50s, 60s. A lot of them are going to be white male heroes. So those are the ones that kind of were targeting the audience of young boys. And today they continue to be pretty much the foundational characters of a lot of these comic book universes. And so there's been this push that we need to change all those things because I guess society has changed rather than create new characters or elevate existing characters. There are plenty of very strong, very competent black male heroes that really should be role models, not just to young black men, but all men. I think Luke Cage is a good role model, somebody that has a past and does great things, have been able to overcome it, and really does great things for the world. Black Lightning, Jefferson Pierce, is such a cool character. He's literally a world-class athlete, and now he's got these superpowers. He could go out there and he could be saving the world on a level of maybe not a Superman, but kind of close to that kind of thing. But he knows that he owes it to where he came from. He doesn't want to forget that. So he decides that he's going to do it more street level and help out his neighborhood. That's a very selfless act on the part of him to take his powers and go out and help a community. And then on a larger scale, you have great characters like a John Stewart, one of the greatest leaders in the history of the Green Lanterns, if not the greatest leader in the history of the Green Lantern Corps. Characters that are well representative of other demographics around the world. Obviously, for female characters, you can think of like a Wonder Woman character or Storm. And truth be told, the comic book industry is actually chock full of them. But for some reason, the industry and the creators within it, they don't want to elevate these characters and put time into them and elevate them to a level of a Superman or a Batman or a Spider-Man or a Captain America. They would rather go and take another character that's already representative of something that is already a role model to so many people worldwide, and they want to fundamentally alter them. They want to change them. They want to remold them into shape of something else. And what we're really losing in this, and it's not just, people that don't like change, or it's not cool that you're making changes to Superman. It's not cool that you're taking away role models. Young men and women across the world need these aspirational heroes, these role models, these characters to look up to, these characters that have ideals that are literally greater than probably anybody in the world could really achieve, because they are idealized characters. Most people in the real world have greater faults than Superman. When you think about, what are Superman's weaknesses? Well, kryptonite. Okay, there's a plot device. Other than that, it's his uncompromising faith in humanity. So where he can be duped every once in a while, his undying love for Lois that puts him in harm's way, to where he's willing to make a mistake here and there just to make sure that Lois is okay. Even when you look at the faults of a Superman, they're still quite commendable. And that's why you don't want to bring these characters down to our level. It's not a smart move to break them down a peg and bring them down to the level of you and I. It's time to elevate these other characters up to the status of a Superman or a Batman. You know, Batman's a street level character, and he certainly has much greater flaws personally than a Captain America or a Superman, but it's still somebody that, you know, you can look up to. You know, he's got a mission. Something, you know, bad happened to him, and he will do anything in his power to provide justice and security and safety to the people of Gotham. He fails a lot because Gotham's such a bad city. You go read Nightfall, he'll die for this. He will literally lay his life down on the line for the people and the citizens of Gotham. That is something that you can look up to. There are obviously people in the world today that do things of that nature. You know, I was in the military for a little over 20 years. I'm a retired Air Force. So I certainly saw a lot of people, you know, during my time in Afghanistan that were definitely putting themselves in harm's way, not only for the man and woman next to them, but also their friends and family and other people that, you know, they just don't even know back home. But those are the type of things that you should really look up to and admire in somebody else and admire in these characters. And I just think it ruins them to strip these elements away from them, where you strip down Batman and he's just an emotional mess that can't get over a breakup, when that's literally never been in the character's history. But it's edgy, right? Gonna bring him back to our level. We need to humanize this character. He needs to be more relatable. I think Superman needs to be relatable in the sense of, do you remember what it felt like looking up to your dad when you were like 5 years old? My dad was bigger than life. I thought he was a superhero myself. Obviously, now that I'm a grown man and I see him through different eyes, and I can see the wonderful qualities that I admire in the man, but I do know there's faults there. But when I was a little kid, I didn't see any of that stuff. I just saw somebody that I wanted to grow up and be like. We don't want to take those aspects away from these characters, and that's absolutely something that's been stripped out, really in the name of progress, supposedly. But in the long run, it's never really going to serve any purpose, not for society, not for the industry, not for the characters themselves, certainly not for the companies that are looking to make money off of them. I just think it's so important. I know people think I take comic books too seriously, and I take what's happening to Captain America and Superman too seriously. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I take this stuff serious enough. I think the long-term ramifications of what we're doing to these wonderful heroes and these wonderful role models that kids, regardless of race, gender, religion, you know, any of that stuff, sexual identity, that can look up to, because these characters are beyond those type of immutable characteristics or sexual preferences. They're too important. Tearing them down, you know, to build something up better in their place, it's more acceptable in today's society. It's just the long-term effects outweigh anything that might be gained short-term. That it's not even funny. But this is a very short-sighted industry that we're in right now. And like I said, I take this stuff very seriously, but I know I don't take it seriously enough because there's so much damage being done. This is a bit more of an abbreviated focus conversation than what I had about, I don't know, maybe it was 9 months ago with my good friend Doug Ernst. We talked about Captain America and Superman and why they're no longer in vogue and why the industry is trying to tear them down. A little bit more in depth than I went here with the, you know, different little bit of a spin on it. If you're interested in that, the video is right here. I think you would enjoy it. Doug is a very well-spoken, very well-read, journalist. He's also a comic book writer, and I think you should check it out.